Okay, looks like the recording's going. So, hey, we're live, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from Austin, Texas on August the 25th, 2025. So, for some of us, like Randy and myself, who we'll get into here in a second, that sounds like it's way in the future to me. 2025, that's crazy talk. I mean, the year 2000 sounds like the future still. So, but whoever's watching this may be watching this in 2050. Hello, future. I hope everything's going okay. I hope the AI hasn't taken over completely and is just doing all your jobs so you can all hang out at the beach. But
Cobalt's still around.
Yeah, if anyone's still got a job. But yes, again, so I'm Vince Sellers, work at the Controller's office, and I like to do these IT legends / legacy interviews of people that have come to the office at the Controller's office and made a difference and put in great careers. And before they set sail and call it a day and retire, I like to grab them and just ask them a few questions about their experience and learn more about them, just to kind of paint a history of the great people that have made up this office. And not everybody gets asked to do this. And you definitely have a special treat today. So let me go ahead and introduce the one and only infamous Mr. Randy Custard. And he is a wonderful person to have around. He's one of the guys that always has a smile on his face, positive attitude. And I mean, you guys all know what it's like to work with people that either they're naysayers, you can't do anything, or like, positive, and we can do this and that. And that's always been my experience with him. I wish I would have known him more and been able to work with him more, because every interaction I've had has been an A+ pleasure. But his reputation is cemented, certainly his legendary status. And I can't think of anybody that's really more liked and well respected. Like, everybody loves this guy. So whoever's watching this, he's not even paying me any cash payment or electronic. No Bitcoin was involved in this exchange. This is just my impression of Randy, but it's a great one, and I appreciate him donating some of his time to chat with me about his life. So we'll get into the work stuff, but also want to just take a little time and learn a little more about Randy for myself, because again, I've always enjoyed working with him. He seems like one of those guys that reminds me of some of my friends growing up that I wish I would have had more time to spend with him, because I can just tell, maybe a brother from another mother is one of those situations. But nevertheless, let's actually hear from Randy himself during this interview of Randy. So Randy, thank you for joining. And before we get into, we won't do too much work stuff, but tell me this. So how many years have you put in at the CPA? What's your sentence been? How many have you carried out of yours?
Before I get into that, thank you. You gave me this big head, and all I can say is I outlasted all the guys that didn't like me. That I ticked off at one time or another. Because you start out as a kid, and you don't know the way of the world, and you're blunt and you say things. Anyway, people good at short memories, so they forget. But so thanks again. And I wish we were interviewing you, Vince. I told you that before. So.
Well, no, it's not my time. I wish I was retiring and getting to participate in an interview, but nevertheless, but I know it goes fast. And so one of these days it'll be me, but it's all about you today, Randy. So again, Thanks for doing this. And maybe a little arm twisting. I mean, Randy wasn't one to brag about himself and do all this, but trust me, ladies and gentlemen watching this, he is very well liked and respected. And I mean, he was a must. I had to get him. I was going to keep working on him, even though I told him it was optional. But I was going to keep working on it until he caved in, and he did. So,
and it worked. It worked.
But all right, well, let's rewind. Let's go back to the very beginning, and this is the part that I enjoy. That again, you work with people for a long time, and you see them, and they're always fun to be around, but you don't know that much about them. So this is where I and the audience would like to learn a bit more about the person. So forget all this work stuff. Yeah, it's boring anyway. It's tax stuff. Who wants to talk about that? We will in a minute. But tell me, so from the beginning, when it all started for you in life, so where were you born, and where did you grow up, and what was that like? Siblings? So I want you to paint a nice full picture. No, don't skip, of life as a young man growing up, and what kind of forged your personality and your the person that you are today. Let's hear more about that origin story.
Okay. Air Force brat, like a lot of people here in the Austin area. Dad got stationed at Berkshire in 1972. I was an only child for about a year and a half. It was really pleasant. So So I was born in Meadville, Pennsylvania. It's in the northwest corner between Erie and Pittsburgh. Real beautiful country, Conneaut Lake up in that area. Then we came down to San Antonio when Dad wrapped up basic training, moved to, Mom said we moved to like 4 or 5 places to first year. So I don't remember all of those, of course. My first memory is Myrtle Beach. So,
Mhm.
I don't even remember what state Myrtle Beach is in, North Carolina or so. Anyhow,
Yes. Yeah.
Charleston. I know we lived in Valdosta. Dad was a helicopter mechanic and
Hmm.
supporting NASA in Venezuela when they were putting the satellites up there. That was the only way they could get it was helicopters. Then he got in OCS and became then went to flight school. Then we were at Charleston. He was flying hurricane rescue missions out on the Atlantic Ocean, and then went to Vietnam. So we went back to Meadville, and then from there we went to Germany for about 5 years. So from third grade to seventh grade, we were at 2 different bases. Uh,
Wow.
he did a lot of TDY. He went back to Vietnam for a special mission. Um, Earned a silver star. Earned a silver star.
Wow.
Then we came back to Bergstrom, and we lived in the Barton Hills area. Met a lot of friends. Loved it down there. Austin was small. They were just finishing the upper deck. Mopac was just starting to be built. So we had a good time. We ran all over Austin, and I don't think our moms knew where we were. It was fun. It was a small town. I think about 200,000 people.
Mhm.
So it was
Wow.
blessed. So I went 2 years at the old Austin High, and then I was going to do 2 years at the new Austin High. But then between my junior and senior year, Dad bought a farm. He grew up farming, and so he was looking at retiring. So we moved to Thorndale, and it was a good school. A lot of smart people there. Small town, had a blast. A lot of nice folks. And then I wasn't going to go to school, college. I was just going to, I had an uncle that was a truck driver. I said, I would like to do that. I took a building trades class at high school, and I thought building houses was fun. Uh, but then I didn't know this until later. Mom said, I told your dad you were going to go to college. You're going to be the first in the family. So my grades weren't that good. I got by. So I went to junior college, really messed up the first year, didn't know what I was going to do. And I flipped a quarter. It was law enforcement or computers, and I don't know where the computers came. As a kid, I saw a computer. In Scouts. We went and toured a computer site in Germany. It's just a dark dungeon, and it just didn't look that impressive. Uh, then I remember in high school, the dad said, "You ought to get into computers," and I didn't know what they were, and they sounded smart. So I just flipped a quarter, and the teacher walks in the first day, Dr. Robinson, and she started going into it, and I was hooked. It was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to make a good grade, and I started making A's and B's first time in my life. So I was very happy about that. So, um, and I was a junior college, and we had asked the teacher, another Mr. Robinson, what the salary was going to be, and he said, if you make $800 a month, you're doing really good. And I said, $800? That's a lot of money. So, so I get out of school. I'm working at the House of Representatives. Mom worked with a lady whose husband was in charge of the property office, and they needed college kids to help between the session and moving the legislators in and out as they were transitioning. And that was a blast. I had a lot of fun there. And then they asked me to come back in the summer, and I did, but I was looking for a job in computers. Uh, really didn't
Mhm.
have any luck, didn't know how to look for a job. And one of my friends, his dad said, well, I know Mr. Bullock. So he set up an interview. I came in, and uh, I guess I did all right. I interviewed with Ron Andrews and a couple other people, and Ron hired me. And I was so surprised. Jack Rukowski, he slides a little piece of paper over, and it has $1,095 a month. And it was like, wow, I hit the jackpot. I was hooked. I start $1,000 a month. That was huge money, man. you got to remember, this is back into the early 80s, late 70s,
Okay, I was going to ask what year. Okay, early 80s. Wow.
81.
Okay.
So the first week, Alan Fletcher, he asked a trick question. It was like, okay, I don't have any idea what he's talking about. They didn't have laptops. Computers weren't on your desk. They were out on the hallway in the aisle. You could type, but you had coding sheets and you would write it up, and the word processing would enter in your programs. They they still had card readers here, but uh, it was like, and then my handwriting was so bad that they asked me, they said, here, just go ahead and type the stuff yourself. So, uh, and I got to work with some good people. Mary Loretta was my first boss. Her last name was Buckley then. I'm not even going to try to say it. And I got to sit with some nice folks that took me under their wing and showed me the way. Uh, so they helped me get started. The first week, it was like I wasted all that time, but hung out and started making good sense. And I got assigned to a first big project. I was on sales tax, but they were wrapping it up. So so then I got transferred to work for a guy named Ray Hayes, and he was over the audit applications. And so I worked on a post audit survey system with one of the auditors, and that seemed to go pretty good. It was just they were trying to figure out using NAICS codes who are the best people to audit. Where do we get our bang for the buck? So that was that kind of a project.
Oh, interesting.
Then from there, I went to STARS, sales tax audit results system, and I don't really remember what it was doing, but I just remember it was Jerry Knox ran it with Peggy Miller, and Kevin Kohler was the auditor. It was just a small group of people, and it was COBOL application, JCL, vSAM, STK. That was System 2000. That was the hierarchical database we had.
Okay.
We did that for a couple of years, and that was a lot of fun. And then went to Audit P&I or Universal P&I. We did some of that. Then Ray Hayes, I kept hanging out with him for some reason. So he kept getting moved around to different applications, cleaning them up. We went to one, they had like 12 load libraries. It was like you were getting called all the time, 3 or 4 times a week. So we got that system cleaned up, and then we went to ITIM. So that's in the mid 80s then. And a guy named Wong Vu and John Turman and Bill, Richard Congable, a couple other folks, they're all working in that area. Then I got recruited to be a DBA. DB2 was coming into place, and I wasn't sure, but it sounded pretty good. So I ended up transferring to the DB2 area, and we were on 1.2
Oh,
going to 1.3. And
wow.
that was a blast. I was working with Kathy Martinetz and Todd Henry, a couple other guys, and uh, it was still so new. And it was like, we're going to make a change. And I said, you can't do that in a couple hours. It's going to take a while because you have to unload database, capture all this information. But we had one of BMC's first project was called Alter, and we took that and used it, and we were able to make the changes. And then I dropped my first production table space. It was like, oh boy. But Chris Quinn was the application programmer. He said, don't worry, I got a copy of this in test. So we were able to get the table back. So it's like, you got to learn what you're doing. So there was a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, but a lot of good things. And we worked through all those problems. And I ended up being a DBA for about 25 years. Uh,
Wow. Wow.
so got to work with a lot of people. You could see the difference, how much work somebody did because of how many changes they had during the development.
Mhm.
Uh, So, but it was a lot of fun. I got to work with a lot of folks in the user divisions and programmers supporting them and just learning a lot of things.
Wow.
Sure enjoyed it.
Wow, that's fantastic. What an experience. And I got a couple of things I want to probe on a little bit here, just for fun. Yeah, but what an experience. And the big takeaway. I'm nodding my head over here listening to you because I mean, at the end of the day, obviously you've had a great career at CPA. And these days it's more common for people to jump around and go to different jobs and stuff. And I had a couple before I landed here, 17 years ago, but it's interesting that when you land somewhere good, and I really feel like we have work at a great organization, you got people that are helpful. That kind of, you come in, you don't know anything, right? I mean, even people that know stuff that come in don't really know anything about the culture and how we do things. And so it just makes all the difference having a good, positive group of people to work with, and not that everything's perfect, but certainly it sounds like your accounting, be it who you work for and your bosses and the people earlier in your career that you helped. And I know you've helped people as they've come along in the same way, and kind of giving back. I think that just speaks to the power and the appeal to me of having a great career, in one organization that lets you grow and try different things. And then, you can kind of chart your own course, which I feel like has been my experience here. And obviously you were able to do that and very successfully, and went from flipping the coin to not sure what you're going to do, law enforcement, or there's this new computer stuff.
Yeah, so related.
Yeah. And I hope you got a couple of. I mean, nowadays in 2025, 1,095 is not probably going to pay the bills, but hopefully you've had a couple of merit increases since then. But nevertheless, it is funny to look back at what was considered, and of course, everything was less expensive then. Although I say that, that's actually not quite true, is it? We know this. That sure, a house, you could buy a house for probably $35,000, get a nice house somewhere. Who knows, right? So it wasn't as expensive in that way. But also, I encourage anyone that's like, oh, everything was cheap back then. Pick you up a Sears catalog from 1980 and tell me how much that microwave cost. Tell me how much that crappy resolution, 25-inch color TV. Those things are far more expensive then than they are now, let alone inflation adjusted. So many goods are 1/10 or less the price than they used to be. So anyway,
there's a lot of savings in some of that, and some of the things went up. I did leave the controller's office in the mid-90s to go to private, but I had kids, and it was like my wife was stay-at-home mom, so we were used to two incomes, and then all of a sudden we're living on one income, and we were under a wage freeze. We were on freezes a lot, and so I said, I went and got a pretty decent raise going to private sector, but it was like, I come home one day, and I like the controller's office because we could come in early and leave at 4:00. It was 4:30. It was fun, and traffic was, I was home in half an hour, and but then one day, and I go, hey, to my son, I said, "Do you want to go with me?" He said, "I don't know you anymore," because I was putting in a lot of extra hours at this other place trying to figure my way around. This is what you did. So I said, this isn't going to work. I want to spend time with them and do their sports with them, scouts, whatever they were interested in. So I came back to the controllers. It was really nice. People said, if you want to come back, just let us know. And I did. And so I got to come back, and I loved it here. I wasn't leaving because wasn't happy. It was just, I didn't know how to budget money. And then, that came later. When you get in your 40s, I think you start looking at down the road and say, oh, I need to do, so you do that kind of stuff. So, but I was glad to come back, and I was here till I retired. And then somewhere at the end, my boys were out of high school or just getting ready. They were done. And my wife said, do you want to go back to school? And I was looking at some stuff through my church and some other stuff that I was doing. And they said, you need a college degree. So my wife asked if I wanted to go to college, because the kids were, and I said, sure, I would like to do that. I just had an associate's degree. So I went to Texas State. They had a degree plan. I got 24 hours of work credit. So that was cut a couple times. They did ask me to take a foreign language. If I'd known that up front, I wouldn't have gone back to school, but I made it through that and got a degree. So now I could check off that I got the degree. So I graduated in 2011, retired in 2012. And then hung around for a while doing stuff for my mom and a couple other folks. Came back to the controller's office for a while. I was working in fiscal management, testing, and I liked that okay. I really liked the people, but it was the programming I was missing. So I went to Workforce Commission, was a programmer there. Then Mr. Hager came into the office, changed the nepotism policy so I could go back to IT. And Ruth called and said she had a position. The DBAs were having a position. So I ended up coming to performance capacity planning, and I did that a little bit and a bunch of other things. So it's been a wide variety of stuff. I started teaching classes with JCL and ISPF. I'd learned a few tricks. Uh, One day we were Roscoe, which was just a user interface. Then we got TSO, and they had different commands, and you're learning your way. I didn't even know how to sign off, and I'd call my wife. She worked at TI, and she'd tell me how to do the commands. So it was cool. Uh, then one day Ruth said, "Hey, Todd needs to stay a couple hours late. It's going to take him a while to do this change." And I said, "Sure." And I started recognizing patterns, and I said, "Hey, we could do this." And just because we also had the 2400 baud modem and stuff would go, as you hit enter. So you start to learn to stack commands and do some other tricks. And anyway, just using some of the little tricks that I've learned, that 2.5 hour project that Todd and I had to do, we finished in 20 minutes. So we were out of the office and it's like, okay, I'm in. So I try to learn a little bit more. I've been teaching 6 or 7 of these classes over the time, uh, shortcuts and how to use stuff. And it's saved a lot of people some time. I've gotten good feedback. So that's what I did helped with teaching and helping people. I loved when we had problems with programming. It kind of wagged my tail, getting in there, figuring it out. And then how to make the change. You have to be a detective to find out what was wrong, where it went wrong. Then an artist to kind of see, or surgeon, whatever you want to call it, to put the change in to make sure it worked. And then uh, you test it and verify everything was good. And that kind of stuff was fun. You left with a good feeling,
Mhm.
helping the folks and making sure the stuff was running good. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is that it's that fun satisfaction of solving any puzzle, right?
right.
Successfully. Yeah, this is great. So
So,
very interesting.
and
All
uh,
right. I'm going to jump around a little bit just
okay.
for fun. Now I got to rewind because, again, I like hearing about the work stuff, but you did mention so the Meadsville, Pennsylvania area. So in
Needs
that
that.
quadrant, is that, and I happen to be going there fairly soon. And on my list is checking out the Night of the Living Dead cemetery that I understand is in that vicinity. So anyway, I'm a horror
I
movie
hadn't heard about that. So,
somewhere in that area, but nevertheless, that's a
it,
I've heard it's a
it's if
nice
you're
area.
going through, if you're headed from Pittsburgh to Niagara
Yeah,
Falls, you said
yeah, yeah.
you,
That
you'll
region.
drive through the town. So stop at Eddie's Footlong. Well, you're going next month. They'll be closed. These are summer spots. Eddie's Footlong hot dogs. They've been around forever, and
Ah,
Sandy's ice cream.
oh, all
So
right. Well, I'm jotting down a couple of notes for me just in case, just to check it
okay.
out. Gain a few pounds on, blame it on Randy, but and that was good. And I'm glad you did just, talk a little bit about your father's military experience and everything. And again, it's funny the parallels I'm hearing when talking to you. So my dad was an aircraft mechanic in the Navy, but he spent a good amount of time in Da Nang in Vietnam working on the airplanes at the airfield there. But anyway, just kind of interesting. And then yeah, Thorndale. I grew up in the farming community of West Texas, so not geographically West Texas, but the town West Texas that you pass on the way
Oh
to
yeah.
Dallas. So yeah. So kind of it just I see some parallels, and then we both wound up at the state somehow doing this IT stuff. But
And we're both
but
handsome and smart.
I mean, yeah, I mean
Yeah.
perfection. Yep. See, perfection right there. But no, I love it.
We're good liars.
Yes, yes, we can say this with a straight face, but a bit of a smile and a laugh. So, but man, what an experience. So, I mean, gosh, what? So, tell me a little bit more about so now that you're approaching, the return. Like, what do you have? What do you have in store, and with your family or in travel or hobbies and things. So, outside this work stuff, what are you looking forward to doing?
I've got some projects. My mother-in-law's got some stuff I'm going to help her with. She's 91. She got her first set of hearing aids the other day, so now you don't have to yell at her anymore. She first put them on. She said, "Y'all all talk that loud, just so you can hear us." And now she can hear the paper rustling. So it's kind of nice that she's back with us. My mom, uh, I love going with her to her doctor visits. She can't hear. She guesses at what the answers the doctors ask her the question, says, "How are you doing?" She says, "I have 5 kids." So, so uh,
That's great.
that's always a trip. I'm hoping to take her back up to Pennsylvania to see her brother.
Oh,
Last one she has, uh, but she broke her tailbone the other day, so gonna give her a little bit of time. I'm not gonna go into how she broke it, but it's kind of
nice.
funny. I think, is there ever a time you can break a tailbone that's not funny? So
I mean, yeah,
it's got to be a funny story.
it's got to
So
be.
yeah, so help her out. Then we have some stuff around the house, and I like to. I can make boxes with wood and that kind of stuff. But I've done a few things. The church, I've did some Eucharistic communion trays, and when I was asked to do it, I said I've never made anything at all like that, and I said I'll give it a try, and uh, made it out of walnut.
Mhm.
Randy Berger and I went over to Fine Lumber and picked up the wood and got a good visit. We drove by where he used to live. That was a lot of fun, and the stories he would tell. And then anyway, I don't know how long I spent making these trays.
Yeah.
I had a couple other projects in between them, but my wife said it's like you lost your best friend when I finished them, and it's like this is the best thing I've ever made. I'll never make anything that good, but I plan on building some new cabinets for my son. He bought a house. It's a fixer upper. The cabinets are from the 70s, cheap wood. Um, so another buddy and I, he's into this. So we're going to go down, spend a week down the road when things we're caught up on our chores. And then I don't know. Uh, I'll probably go look up Troy Goley. He's building cabinets, so I'll learn some of his tricks and see how I can go. So just knowing people, you go, man, I'm going to go hang out with these guys or something like that. And then we do the bowling league here at the controller's office. I've been doing that for about 10 years now, and we grew recently. We were before COVID, we were 14 teams, so we were having a good time. Then when COVID was kind of over and they opened it back up, we still had a lot of people, no, I'm not sure about it. So we dropped down and we ended up, we're at 5 teams
Yeah.
on 6 lanes. And so Lisa Craven put out on her email every
Mhm.
week about the league. We had 25 people respond. A couple of them said they have their team. So now we're at 9 teams, but we're having to go to 2 leagues, 2 different time zones. So we're starting at 4 o'clock and 6:30 to make it work because we only had 6 lanes to play with. So that's been
Wow.
fun working with all those folks. It was first time it was like, oh boy, okay, what did we get ourselves into? But I worked with Eddie Trevino and he came up with an idea with the split. So uh, there's always a solution somehow or
Yep.
another. You just work at it and
Yep.
don't get too bent out of shape. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's
so
great. Oh, we were chatting a little bit too beforehand. So do a little camping here and there for,
oh, I love camping. My kids were in scouts. We
yeah.
scouting was a great program because there's a lot of things that we did in scouts that we would have never done as a family. So the boys got exposed to a lot of things, uh, camping, canoeing, the hiking. All that was a lot of fun. My closest friends from outside of work were all the people that I met through Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts. So uh, I love that part of it. So
Wow.
we still keep up with everybody, hang out, and then uh, plan to hook up with some of the old friends from here that have retired. So that's been a blast. I'm looking forward to that, and going to some ball games and then some traveling. Uh, my wife's not a car driver. I shouldn't. Whoops, shouldn't have said that. So I think I love road trips. So so uh,
Can't beat
so
a good
I don't
road.
know. Yeah, we'll get this figured out. So we'll go see some things, do some stuff, but we'll just have fun hanging out and doing things.
I love it.
And
That's We'll take
oh,
a
and
couple of airplane trips, and that makes people appreciate road trips.
yeah, and I was telling somebody, I don't know, I mess with Jerry Collins a lot, and I talk about keeping the bar really low
Mhm.
because it's easier to exceed, and so I said one of the things I want to do is I want to get really good at doing nothing well. And another friend of mine said that's going to take a lot of practice. So I'm going to practice doing nothing. But no, you got to have something to do every day. I do know that. So,
Yeah. Yep.
and
I'm sure you'll stay busy. Plenty to do. So.
oh, we got a dog. We got two dogs. One of them was supposed to be a beagle. He turned out to be 95 pounds. He's a mixed. My wife thought he's beagle size. He's a funny dog. So we grilled some chicken on the grill last night. I think it was like 7 thighs or something. We had 3 of them for supper. Anyway, the rest of it's going to be leftovers for lunch. Next thing we know, leftovers are all gone. So
Oh
that
no.
that dog can reach.
Oh,
It's like he's looking. He waits till nobody's watching. It is like all of a sudden they're gone. So
wow. Crafty.
so I think I'm going to be doing some dog training too.
Yes. Sounds like it. Sounds like so. Is that like a rescue situation there?
Yeah. Yes.
That's great.
All the dogs we've had have been rescues. So
Yeah.
they're the
No, that's
best.
great. That's great. That's the way to go. Yeah, our pugs are rescues. Come from pug rescue, but no, that's good. Good, give them a home. So that's fantastic. Fantastic. All right. Well, is there anything else? Like, let me ask you this before we close. Uh, and hoping that this recording lives in infamy for many decades and centuries to come. The people looking at YouTube for years from now will perhaps get a kick out of it. But for people coming in, you got incoming generations of people that want to work here, or they happen to stumble their way into the door and then wind up making a career of it. But what would you tell to incoming people? If you could tell yourself coming in those first few days and like just what would any advice, words of wisdom for these incoming folks?
Well, it goes back to the old generations. You hear people talk today about the kids of today's generation. Back in my day, we weren't like this, and uh, I better not say that joke, but I remember people when I was a kid talking about our generation and we didn't work as hard as the other generations. And I think you always have that somehow or another. And they would talk about saving your money and you don't learn to do it until you're older, but maybe it's don't spend more than you earn is the thing. But that's just practical advice. But I think the thing to do is say yes for the new people. It says you got a chance to go hang out with some friends, new people you don't know. Go do that. You got a chance to work on a different project. Go do that. Say yes. A lot of times, computer guys, they're the ones that hate the change the most. They hate to change anything, but we cause more change than anybody else just because we rewrote a program or we came up with a new system or we're modernizing this or that. But if you get a chance to do something, not illegal, but just legal, I
How
know,
much
Vince,
fun?
yeah, I know you had more fun doing the stuff you're not supposed to do, but I think we all have done some of that. But say yes to the opportunities that you can, because you're going to learn stuff that you're going to end up applying it to something else. There's a problem we had one time, and the vendor told us we couldn't do it. And we weren't having a lot of luck getting anywhere, but trying a lot of stuff. I'm taking another class on this other subject, and somebody said something, and I go, maybe this would work. So we went back and tried it and tested it. And what the vendor told us we couldn't do, we were able to do just because of something I'd learned somewhere else unrelated. Uh, so take advantage of all the stuff you can, you know,
Yeah,
go on those
that's great.
trips.
Yeah, it's a great life lesson and certainly career advice, but even beyond that. But yeah, just say yes. Like try stuff and know that everybody's human. People fail. You wander into things. You may have some doubts. I mean, I have many times done many things, even to date, even my job sometimes. Don't tell my boss Jay Waldo, but
No.
yeah, there's plenty of times
Yeah,
like, what am I doing here? What am I doing? That
yeah, and don't be afraid. I
do
remember
hard
I'm
stuff. Yeah.
18, 19, just a
Mhm.
kid, really naive about a lot of stuff because, Air Force Base, you grow up, you're sheltered. You could do whatever you wanted. It was fine. You didn't get too much trouble. As long as you didn't get too much trouble, you didn't hurt your dad's career. But you know, you had to be careful about that. Uh, but Eddie Merker was one of the mechanics, and he was kind of scary. Not like 60. Another guy was 60 was real friendly, but Eddie was kind of scary to me. And he comes up and he says, "Randy, you ever make any mistakes?" And I'm thinking, oh, this is one of those trick questions. If I say yes, they what an idiot, and if I say no, you're a liar. And so I'd rather be an idiot than a liar. So I said, yeah. And he said, that's good. That means you're trying things. I said, the worst mistake is not to do something. And it's true. You know, I've had people come and says, can you do this? I don't, did you try it? No, I didn't know. You can, you know, we got tests for that kind of stuff. And sometimes you find out this worked, this didn't work, but we're not Wile E. Coyote. We don't throw it out. We tweak it and make it work. That's how we just do things and say, you know, write a query 6 different ways, you know, 3 of them, 4 of them, you get the same results. The 2 that you don't, okay, are they good results or not? Then which one performs better, you know? So it's a lot of tweaking and all that stuff, but it's such a fun career, all this stuff. And I got to mentor a kid. He's still in college. We had those interns that came by and he had reached out. And so I'd visit with him. And I got to think, and knowing I was going to retire, reflected back. So I was here 40 years ago working with those people. And those folks were here 30 years before that. So, you know, you're talking people from the 50s working here at the controller's office. If this kid comes back, Jacob, if he comes back to the controllers and he's here 30 years between, you know, you got 3 folks that knew people from the 50s to him knowing people in the 50s, and he's going to know people that he'll help when he's 80, you know, so it doesn't take long for the number of people that one person can touch, because the lessons I learned from the young folks or the old people when I was a kid or younger, I'm passing on to these folks, and they're going to pass those lessons on to others. So it's, you know, not to get it, you know, a circle or whatever, but it's just a cycle. It's changes, and you never know what kind of impact you can make on somebody, good or bad. So
absolutely. So make it a good one.
I'm still working on you. No, I'm teasing. I know I'm supposed to be an old guy, but I don't feel like an old guy, you know?
Billy, I know. It's crazy. Yep. But you're doing all right. You're doing good. You're doing good, Randy. Was there anything else before we land the plane on this guy? Anything else you wanted to say, or any final parting words? Anything else?
Oh, I'll probably think of something smart later and go, I should have, and I'll call you and I'll put on the shirt again and we'll come back here and sit here and you can edit it in.
Insert world's most brilliant quote.
I'm not really that smart. I just have copied and stolen a lot of stuff from other people, and just try different ways of putting it together. It's a puzzle. You know, you get to do things. I've had a blast, but and the work is good, but it's the folks. I made a list of all these people that I've worked with their years, and I wish I had a chance to mention them. I tried to mention a few of them as I could, but it's the people you get to work with, and that's who you remember. You don't hang out and you go, let's go program a code. Let's go to lunch or breakfast or grab a beer, that kind of stuff. So 100%. It's always going to be the people.
Yep.
Always.
Well said. Well said.
Thanks.
All right, Randy. Well, I appreciate you spending some time today and, running through your life and career and excellent words of wisdom that definitely ring true. And again, to your final closing comments about the people, that's why I'm still here as well. As it's a great organization and great people. We hate to see people like you go, but there are people coming in, even younger generations that I also like to claim aren't as good as we were, and they're lazy. And guess what? Some of those people are pretty damn smart. So,
you're not kidding. You're not kidding. I'm working with some of these guys and I go, man, how did you do that? You're doing that so fast. And how'd you know that? You know, so you can learn from the young people too. I mean, I'm still learning.
Absolutely. So, yep. Well, even outside of work, keep learning, never stop. And that keeps you going. That keeps you young, Randy. So,
and when it's your turn, Vince, I want I want to watch your video.
Okay, all right. We can flip the script a little bit. You can grill me, but well, thanks. I really get it. I highly enjoyed talking to you through this process, and I will go ahead and end the recording. But again, to future generations, you've had a privilege here getting to hear from the man himself, legend, Mr. Randy Custard. So we appreciate your service, sir, and wish you the best in retirement.
Thank you. And the same to everybody else. Bye.